half from the North Delta, half from the South Delta, that really doesn't make anyone happy. So that's the final point on this slide. No one is particularly happy. Just a point on the politics. This is a little cartoon that I had made up, but it was prompted by a blog by John Lawrence, a guy who now lives in Washington, D.C., who was longtime staffer for George Miller and then Nancy Pelosi. And John Lawrence wrote a blog several months ago that made the point that if you farm on cheap land in a desert, which is what, for instance, happens in Westlands and much of Kern County, and you can get cheap water, and then you go to a crop like almonds that is quite profitable, it is profitable enough to spin off a lot of money for paying lawyers, lobbyists, and because I like alliteration, I said low-life politicians. Not all politicians are low-life. There are some good ones, like Lois Walk and Gungaramandi and others. But low-life politicians particularly like money that comes from fat cats that are spreading it around to lawyers and lobbyists. One of my lawyer friends took, I think, joking offense at this cartoon. I said, no, that doesn't refer to you. The lawyers in question here are people like Jeff Keitlinger, the general manager of Metropolitan Water District, and Tom Birmingham, general manager of Westlands Water District. These water districts in California used to be run by engineers. I am a little bit biased being an engineer, but it's a sign of the times that they're now run by lawyers that draw salaries of like $400,000 a year. And so that is what you folks are up against. You're up against very well-funded, powerful organizations because they take advantage of what I call the new hydrological cycle. The hydrological cycle is a technical term that has to do with clouds and rain and so on, but this is the modern version of it. Water and money circulating around, and so there is this common saying now that water in California doesn't flow downhill, it flows to money. So now we get into, you're doing pretty well in terms of attentiveness, but here comes the challenging part. This is the more heavy scientific part. Well, it's a combination of engineering and science, but I'm going to end up with some real science. I'm trained more as an engineer, but part of my engineering training involves substantial training in science, and it really frosts me, to use a more delicate term, that people like members of the Delta Stewardship Council are always talking about good science. We have to follow good science when they wouldn't know good science from a hole in the ground. That's a soils engineer.